Hello YouTube, I am the Gray Mystic. In this video, I'm going to be discussing how to find our root assumptions that are responsible for our poor manifestations, and why it's so important to take the time to critically think through our feelings and our experiences so that we can have better results in our actions. If this is something that interests you, please stay tuned. Why is it important to be able to fine-tune our core assumptions and our root perceptions about the world, about life, etc.? Let me give an example. Let's say that we are programming a star drive and we're going to be doing a light speed jump from here to there. Now, if I am off even by a small fraction of a decimal point in my coordinates, I could end up jumping way far away from my jump point. I could jump through a planet, into a star, through a star, so many different things, all because my initial calculations for the jump were off. Now, the same thing is true for our life and our actions. We have root perceptions that are calculations. Then we process those calculations with our feelings, and then we act upon them, and that is the jump to light speed. Now, over time, these core calculations can be a little off. They can be way off, and they can either manifest in terrible results early, or they can manifest in terrible results way down the road. So, a year, 2 years, 50 years down the road, you could have a really big problem because you miscalculated a little bit early on your core and root assumptions. So, as another example, let's say that you have a creation. You have this universe per se as a creation. The source code, is a little off. And because of that, now you have this giant duality drama between the light and the darkness where everybody's fighting each other. And you have this propensity to go into these false dilemmas, which is a logical fallacy. You're always getting divided into right and wrong, good and evil, and fighting over that rather than dealing with what is actually needed in the moment. This is because when this universe was created, there was a flaw in the root calculations. Now, it might have been billions upon billions upon billions of years before this flaw was ever discovered. And by the time it was discovered, it was too late and they didn't know how to make the change. Well, that's why it's so important to go back to your core assumptions, your root assumptions, make changes before it goes into the creation phase. So what you do in order to make these changes is you have to use critical thinking. So you first start with a feeling. I have a feeling that comes up, a trigger, a manifestation. So I'm in an experience and I feel something. I feel triggered. Like, let's say I'm watching the nightly news and something comes on and I see one of the politicians that's not my team, that's not my side. I don't get into this anymore, but let's say that I do. And I get triggered. I get really angry at his position. Well, that's not very good. What he's going to do is going to hurt the economy. It's going to be bad for my business that I own. How dare he? Blah, 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 blah. Well, what I could do in that moment is I could externalize and project onto him that he's the bad guy and attack him by, trying to do my actions. I'm going to vote for the right guy. I'm going to donate money to the right guy. I'm going to protest the wrong guy. These are all things I could do with my feelings. And this is what most people do. They externalize. They go external and they try to make a change through their actions. Instead of going to root causes, they go into the actions into the realm of effects and they try to make changes in the realm of effects. But what I do is I look at my feelings like, I feel triggered. What is it that he's saying that triggers me? Is something that he's saying trigger my feeling of abundance, scarcity, my feeling of lack in my financial matters? What is it that actually that I'm feeling right now? Why do I feel threatened? Why is my safety threatened? Or why is my freedom feel threatened? What is it inside of me? So then I start feeling into that. Okay, well, what is that feeling? Where did it come from? What is the pattern? What are the other times in my life that I've actually experienced the same feeling? And I start trying to trace it back to its root experience, some kind of a root belief. Sometimes there'll be a childhood experience. Well, at this time when I was growing up, my dad got really angry because my mom spent money in such a way, and now I need to, stop my mom from ever doing that again. And now this political figure represents my mom, and I'm really angry at my mom, not this political figure. Now, what he's doing and what my mom's doing could both be pretty bad, but I'm not being emotionally neutral in this moment. I am charged. I'm easily manipulatable. All somebody has to do is create a false situation where this feeling in me gets triggered. Let's be callous with our spending, or let's be poor with our spending. And now I'm going to go off the deep end and fight them. I can be sucked into any manner of false dilemmas that, maybe this guy is just saying something. He's just saying some rhetoric to charge people up, to get them angry. Maybe that's what's going on. But I don't know any better because I'm too charged up from my childhood experience with my father and mother to know any better. Now, because this is a core memory, a core perception, I can go back now and try to understand that. I can say, well, why am I feeling this way? What is this feeling? What is a pattern? How am I this? How am I not this? How am I the opposite of this feeling? And I can go in and play and ask questions about this root experience and then modify the belief. I say things, I use NLP for myself while tapping. I'll be doing emotional freedom techniques. And I'll go into the negative feelings, talk about them, and then I'll talk about other possibilities for these feelings. Well, maybe, just maybe, this doesn't have to be the perception I hold anymore. This was a fight between my mom and my dad. My dad was a little too tight. My mom was a little too loose. She was bad with finances. He was also bad with finances. They were both afraid. Why were they afraid? What were they afraid of? She spent because she was afraid. He hoarded because he was afraid. Why are they afraid? Why is there scarcity? And as I continue to delve into this experience of mine, trying to understand my family, trying to understand my feelings, because I took on this experience as my own, I internalized it in a way. But I need to understand this. I need to figure it out. And the more that I philosophize, the more that I ask questions, because each new question brings an answer. And with each new answer, I have 5 more questions, 6, 10, whatever. And as I get new answers for those questions, I have even more questions that I can ask. And I can continually unravel this ball of yarn. And as this ball of yarn unravels, now when I see a politician in the news say something pretty stupid financially, it doesn't rile me up. It doesn't bother me. Why? It's a false dilemma. I understand that. Why? Because I understand me. It's very important to remove these limiting perceptions so that now when I act, I'm going to be acting in a way that is beneficial for those around me and also for myself. I'm not going to get sucked into the false games. I'm not going to get sucked into the power struggles. I'm not going to get sucked into the false dualities because I'm making changes to my core perceptions. Now when I act, I'm not acting with this emotionally charged perception lacing everything I do. Now my creations can be more sound, more foundational, less shaky. They're going to last. They're going to stand the test of time. My actions are something I can build upon rather than something that's going to eventually kill me, rather than something that's eventually going to enslave me. It's very important. Changing our root assumptions via analyzing our feelings so that when we do act, we can have actions that build upon solid ground, logic. I'm the Gray Mystic. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments below. If you like this video, please click like. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. Be well.